Today I'm going to make for you chicken pot pie. As the name suggests, it is a pie made of chicken, but you also have mixed vegetables. You can make using just about any kind of vegetable that mixes well with chicken, peas, corn, potatoes, carrots, whatever you like. But I'm going to be using a couple of cans of what you call mixed vegetables. To begin the process, we begin by cooking our chicken. And I'll bring you over here to our stove. And first I'm going to add about 2 pounds of chicken to my pot. I'm going to be adding salt and I like to add a little bit of garlic salt. To this, I'm going to add water. Now I'm going to bring this to a boil. And cook the chicken. Now that my water is in a rolling boil, I'm going to stir just a little bit. Now I'm going to turn my heat way down. And then I'm just going to let this chicken sit here and simmer for approximately 2 hours. It is 2 in the afternoon currently, so I will let this simmer till about 4 in the afternoon. As you can see, my chicken here is still cooking away. But we have about 30 minutes before it's going to be done cooking. And so I'm going to do a little bit of prep work here while I'm waiting on that to finish. Here in just a little bit, we're going to be needing some chopped onions. So I'm going to go ahead and chop up my onions. Use my chopper here. I'm going to chop up 2 onions because I like lots of onions. Oops. And I'm not actually ready for these yet, so I'm just going to set these aside for now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be needing mixed vegetables, and I'm using these canned mixed vegetables, but I want them drained. I don't want the water from the mixed vegetables. These mixed vegetables include green beans, corn, carrots, and lima beans. So I'm going to strain them to get all the juice out. And I'm going to set them aside for now. And as I told you previously, this is a pie. So what I'm going to be doing is, this is actually going into an actual pie pan. And I have bought these ready-made pie crust, or you can make your own pie crust. But now I'm going to put the bottom piece into the pie crust. But before I put the crust in, I want to put it in, and I'm going to use this butter-flavored cooking spray. That's it. And I'm going to lay this down into this pie plate. Kind of get it flattened out down in here in the bottom of the pie pan. Then once all my ingredients are ready, I'll be putting them all into this pie pan. And I'm not going to be using it yet, but I have a second pie crust to put across the top once all my ingredients are inside the pie. All right, our chicken's all cut. Now we need to chop it fine. We want to cube it up. Let's do one more small piece, and then we got enough chicken for the pie. And when I come back, we'll start preparing over there on the stove. But all of this rest of this juice, I'll be saving because I'll be using part of it in the recipe. Now that all the ingredients are ready, we're ready to start creating the filling. But before I create the filling, I want to preheat my oven. And we're going to bake that at 425, so I'm going to start my oven to baking. And I'm going to turn it up to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to throw in some butter or margarine, about a third or a half a cup. And we're going to get that started to melting here. Now that that has started melting, I'm going to add my onions. May have wound up for too much filling for one pie, but if I did, I will just save the rest, whatever's left over, to do another one another day. I'm going to pause while these onions cook down. My onions here are just almost ready, and as you can see here, I keep stirring them constantly while I'm doing this. I do believe them onions are just about ready. So now I want to add my flour and my salt and pepper. I'm going to work this flour around till the flour gets a little bit brown. Now I'm going to add my milk. And my chicken broth. Now then I'm going to stir this real good until the liquid begins to thicken. And that's why we added the flour, because we want this to thicken. Flour sticking to my spoon. We want it to get up to where it's actually bubbling and thickens. See how it's starting to thicken there? I want it to get a little thicker. And generally, we want to keep stirring, and once it starts bubbling, even while you're stirring, then it'll probably be just about right. There, it's just starting to bubble. We're getting close here. All right, now that it's starting to bubble and it's thickened, we're ready to add our chicken. And our mixed vegetables. And we're going to stir that up until it gets nice and warm. You see how nice and thick that is? We want to get it thoroughly stirred here. Now that it's thoroughly stirred and heated up, I'm going to turn my fire off, and I'll be back in a moment to show you about putting it into the pie. All right, now we're ready to put the filling into the pie. So we want to put the filling in here, and we're going to want to fill the bottom of that pan up. And if I have a little too much, I'll just use it with another chicken pot pie some other time. But it looks like we're not going to have too much extra. I don't want to fill it up to the very brim because it might expand a little more under cooking. Looks like that's probably about all I ought to put in there. Alright, so we're going to smooth that filling out. And I like to put my pie pan on a baking sheet so that if it bubbles over, it doesn't get my oven all messy. Now then, we're going to take this other pie crust that I had from a while ago, left over from a while ago, and we're going to spread that out. And we're going to take a fork and we're going to seal that edge down. May not be the prettiest pie. I bet some of you ladies out there would make a lot better looking pie. But I bet you it'd be good tasting. And then I'm going to cut off the excess crust here. When I was a kid, I would have eaten this excess crust because I loved raw dough. But now that I'm grown and this stuff tends to put a lot of weight on me, I probably won't be eating it. I'll be saving it for something else. Now we want to take our fork and poke a few holes in the top of the crust to allow air to escape as it cooks. Now we're ready to put it in the oven, and we want to put it in the oven for 45 to 50 minutes. So I'm going to put this in the oven. Let it start baking. Set my timer for 45 minutes. And we will be... And there we have the finished product. We need to let it set for about 5 minutes, but I'm probably going to let it set for about 20 or 30 minutes before we slice into it. Now it's time to slice it and put it on the plate. It's all ready to eat.